there's always kind of this funny synchronicity between stories because we choose them with great care and diligence, which basically looks like a string of emails. What are you telling? I don't know. Well, I'm thinking about these four, and you got to make a decision at some point. And so it's funny that his is about the nuts because mine's about Jack and the nut. Now, you all know Jack. Jack has been in a lot of different stories. What are some Jack stories that you know?
Jack and the Beanstalk.
Jack and the Beanstalk. Any others?
Jack the Giant Killer.
Jack the Giant Killer.
Lazy Jack.
Lazy Jack. Jack shows up in all sorts of stories, and whether it was the same person or a bunch of different Jacks, I don't know. But this story isn't necessarily about Jack, it's about his mother. See, Jack's mother was going to die. She wasn't feeling well. She knew it was her time. And you know, she had this lovely little cottage by the sea she had lived in for many years. And Jack was living with her again, you know, 30-year-old children. But she knew that it was her time, and she was all right with that. She had been through a lot of adventures with Jack, and she was ready to go with Death and find this next adventure. The only person who had a problem with this was Jack. Jack was always at her bedside. Mom, are you feeling okay? Can I get you anything? And she said, well, how about some porridge? So we brought her back a bowl of very lumpy porridge and fed it to her sweetly. And she said, how about some tea? And he made a wonderful cup of tea and he brought it to her. And she said, thanks so much. And he said, is there anything else I can do? And she said, go for a walk and let me rest. So off Jack went. And his mother fell asleep into this sleep that was deep and peaceful. And then she woke up, and she felt actually quite a bit better. She felt well enough that she picked up the knitting from beside her bed and began knitting on that sweater that she had been making for Jack that she didn't think she'd be able to finish. Well, and she could do that. She thought, well, why not make some scones? And up she got out of bed into the kitchen and started making scones. And that was when Jack came home. And he saw her standing there, his face lit up. Mom, you're feeling better. Oh, I am. How about you boil some water and we'll have some tea with these scones I'm making? Jack went over to the fire and he lit it. And a few minutes later, he came back and he said, Mom, the water's not boiling. She said, Jack, you know what it is about a washed pot. Go out and gather the eggs from the chicken, bring in some vegetables, and we'll start making those omelets. So he went out and he gathered the eggs and the vegetables. He handed them to her. And then he went back to the water and he said, Mom, it's still not even warm. It's like the fire isn't even burning the sticks. And she said, well, that's not a problem, Jack. What the problem is this? These eggs are hard as rocks. And he turned around and there she had an egg in her hand and she was slamming it against the counter and not even a crack. Jack said, oh, you haven't been feeling well, Mom. Here, I can take care of that for you. And he took that egg and he swung it on the counter and not even a crack. He said, that's real weird. Well, don't worry about the eggs. Maybe the chicken's off. We'll just have some vegetables then. And she tried to cut the vegetables, but it was as if the vegetables were made of rock as well. They were hard, and the knife wouldn't even cut through them. Well, maybe the knife is dull. I'll sharpen it for you, Mom. And he sharpened it so sharp that you could cut your finger just looking at the blade. Now, he started trying to chop the vegetables, but they wouldn't cut. She looked at him. She said, that's real strange, Jack. How about we go into town? We'll get some meat from the butcher. And then we'll come back and we'll make some soup. Okay, Mom, that sounds like a good idea. Now, they walked along the seashore, up the lane to town, and town was not the peaceful little quaint place that they were used to. No, everybody had gathered in the square, and there was fighting and shouting and yelling. Jack's mother went over to the butcher. What's going on? He said, it's the strangest thing. Early this afternoon, I went to go kill a pig. You know, I always kill a pig today. And I went at it with the knife, and it wouldn't cut. And the pig looked at me like I was just being annoying. Can you imagine a pig looking at me that way? That's supposed to be the terrifying one. And so I went after a chicken, and the chickens, I swear they were laughing at me. Jack's mother said, oh, that's real strange. Real strange. But the farmer overhearing the conversation said, well, you know, that's not even the problem. Like, if the pigs and the animals are one thing, it's the caterpillars I'm having trouble with. Like, they're going after my crops, and I can't kill a single one of them. I've tried stomping on them, I've tried salt, I've tried everything, and none of them will die. Everything will be ruined. And about this time, Jack's mother noticed how quiet Jack had been. She said, Jack, how about we go for a walk back home? Now they walked home in silence, and she set a cup of cold water with a tea bag floating on top, since none of the water would boil, and she said, Jack, how about you tell me what's going on? Don't know what you mean, Mom. Jack? Well, it wasn't my fault. He was the one who started the fight. Jack, tell me from the beginning. Well, you were there all sick and stuff, and I went for a walk out by the seashore. And as I was walking down by there, I saw Death coming towards me. Did you now, Jack? What did he look like? Well, he had that side, just like you said he would, and he was all dressed in black and scary and stuff. And I went right up to him and I said, You're Death. And he looked at me and said, I am. And I'm coming for your mother, Jack. And so then I punched him. And I punched him real hard, and he dropped his side. And I picked it up and I cracked it over my leg and I threw it down. And I realized as soon as I punched Death, why he started to get smaller. So I just laid into him, Mom. I know you really don't approve of violence, but it seemed important at the time. And I punched him until he got real tiny. He was tinier than my friend Tom Thumb. And it's real funny because his voice was real squeaky. He looked up at me and he said, Jack, you still need to go for your mother. And I wasn't so happy about that. So I looked around and there was a shell of a nut sitting there. I took Death. I put him inside that nut, I sealed it up tight, and I threw it as far as I could out into the waves. And it bobbed there. And I lost sight of it as the waves rolled in and out from shore. Father looked at him. Jack. I love you, though you weren't born with any brains. You just killed the only thing that makes life in this world. I don't know what you mean, Mom. That's real weird. Jack, if I died, you'd be sure sad to see me go. And I'd be sad to leave you. And you'd find your way, and you'd eventually be happy again. But without death in this world, we can't eat. But you can't starve to death, so all we'll have is hungry bellies, and I'll suffer all the more watching you hungry with nothing but water. You've got to fix this, Jack. What you wanted to do, I mean, I put it away. Jack, your father was a beachcomber. If you inherited anything from him, it was the ability to comb a beach. So out you go until you find that nut. Jack walked for 3 days. And he walked for 3 more. Back and forth across that beach, looking for through every grain of sand, looking for a nut. And he walked day after day. He found that side he had broken, and he mended it, and he sharpened it. He still couldn't find that nut. And then finally, on the 7th day, he sat down in front of that house. He couldn't bear to go in because he knew his mother was hungry, and as hungry as he was, he knew she'd be twice as hungry as him. As he sat there, watching the waves roll in and out, just touching his toes, he just started talking out loud. I'm really sorry. I mean, I was wrong. I didn't know, and I wish that I could do something different about it. Maybe it's okay that death's in the world. And at that moment, as if the ocean accepted his apology, that nut came and bumped against the door. And he snatched it out of the water. He shook the water off. He cracked it open, and there Death stepped out onto his hand, looking up and saying, "Hello, Jack. How are you doing?" "I'm not so good, Mr. Death. I see now why you had to come from my mom, and I'm really sorry for putting you in that nut. I see where I made a mistake." And that Death stepped down onto the ground and was tall and grand again, looked down and said, "Jack, how about you show me where the side is?" Now, Jack showed him to the house, and there next to the porch was that side, and the blade was so sharp that you could cut your finger looking at it. And Death looked at it approvingly, and Jack said, "I guess you have to go inside and eat me now." And Death said, "Well, since I've been in a nut for about a week now, there are some other things that I need to look after. The butcher down the road probably wonders where I've been, And there are a few kings who have started some wars and they can't decide who's won because nobody's died yet. So, I'll leave your mother for now. But next time I come to see her, Jack, I expect a nice warm cup of tea instead of your fists. Jack said, yes, sir, thank you very much, sir. And Death went down the road, and Jack went inside. Now, Jack's mother lived for many more years. She lived until she was 100 years old. And the day she lay on her bed once again, into the room came Death. And Death said, are you ready to come with me? She gestured to the table beside her where a steaming cup of tea was, and she said, in a minute, have a seat. Jack left this board.